I'd been riding the local commuter train by myself since high school, and 10 years later, I knew the routes and trains like the back of my hand. My job as a security guard in an office building was a 45-minute ride away. For the first year, I worked the day shift, but then they switched me over to nights, 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Staying awake at night was definitely an adjustment, and it must have messed with my head. Because one night, my usual train ride turned into something terrifying. It was about a week into the late shift, and I was particularly tired. I may have even nodded off on the job a couple of times that night. And when the morning security guard showed up to relieve me, I couldn't get out of there fast enough. In the dark, I walked across the bridge towards the rail station, hoping I didn't miss my train. The last thing I wanted was to wait an extra 15 minutes on that creepy platform. The most interesting part of working the overnight shift was seeing what kind of people rode the train at 4 a.m. There weren't very many. Tonight, on my train car, there were none. It was one of the older train cars, in pretty bad shape, and the seats weren't very comfortable. But I was so tired, I didn't care. Normally, I would read or listen to music, trying to stay awake in fear of missing my stop. But that night, I started to doze off, hypnotized by the rhythmic sound of the train on the track. The train jerked to a stop, and I jolted awake, no idea how long I'd been asleep. As it slowly started moving again, I looked out the window, and through the darkness, I could see some kind of complex of buildings surrounded with barbed wire fencing. It looked like a prison, but the only prison around here was torn down 20 years ago. It was a maximum security facility where they sent the worst of the worst, mostly murderers. There was a huge riot where several inmates and guards were killed. I was just a kid when it happened, but I remember it was all over the news. The prison was closed after that. As I squinted to get a better look outside, I heard a noise behind me on the train car. I turned my head, and there was a man dressed in what looked like tattered rags. He started moving toward me, quickly. I was dumbfounded. I closed my eyes and opened them again, hoping this was just a bad dream, or me seeing things from being tired. Well, the dream got even worse, because then there were these demonic-looking figures sitting in some of the seats. My breathing got heavy. I couldn't move, and I must have fainted. The next thing I remember was the train jerking again, and I awoke at my stop. I went home and slept for the next 2 days. Needless to say, I was fired for not showing up to work. But that's a small price to pay for not having to take that train in the dead of night.